the next steps.
Well, Dr. Trita Parsi is the author of the forthcoming book, Treacherous Triangle, The Secret Dealings of Israel, Iran and the United States. And he's president of the National Iranian-American Council, promoting Iranian-American interests. He's in our Washington studio. Welcome once again to BBC News.
Thank you.
What do you make then of the American position at the moment and their response to this letter?
Well, I think it's somewhat typical. We have seen it in the past as well, that the initial reaction is a very harsh one. But at the end of the day, the interesting thing is going to be what the position of the other countries in the P5+1 is going to be. Will they also interpret the Iranian response as being completely short of the UN demand, or will it be sufficiently good in order to be able to create a new opening for diplomacy to work? And my suspicion is that the Europeans in particular are looking very carefully at this proposal right now, hoping to be able to find an opening, because pushing forward for sanctions at this time, they believe, I assume, is a slippery slope towards a military confrontation.
But of course, given what is taking place in Lebanon at the moment, and Hezbollah and the backing coming from Syria and Iran for Hezbollah, clearly the United States is very worried about the possibility that Iran might be building nuclear weapons.
Absolutely. I mean, the worries on the American side have been there throughout this period, even before what happened in Lebanon. But Lebanon has also had another effect, which is that it shows that there is no military solution to the problems that exist in the Middle East. And I think particularly elsewhere outside of Washington, there's a lot of people that are concerned. There have already been 3 major conflicts in the region in which a political settlement is yet to be established. Does the rest of the world have appetite for a 4th one?
What about that? Do you think there is the appetite from within the United Nations, or do you think the United Nations is split, in fact, on that issue?
I think it's pretty split. I think the Bush administration may believe that that's the only route to go because everything else seems to be failing, although I don't believe that diplomacy has been given a fair chance. Talking without preconditions would probably have been a much more realistic policy with a much higher probability of success. But throughout the rest of the world and within the Security Council, I don't think at all there is much appetite. I think there's much of a conflict fatigue right now.
And then just very briefly, this idea that the United States will now go to the UN to look now to sanctions on Iran, is that going to have any effect?
Well, the sanctions that may possibly be imposed are going to be quite ineffective, and the ones that could be effective are also going to be very costly, not only for Iran but also for the European states as well as Russia and China. So it doesn't really seem as if sanctions can solve anything. Rather, sanctions may be another phase in this conflict that inevitably will lead to a military confrontation, and that is why many countries are trying to do everything they can to prevent it to go to that stage.
Dr. Trita Parsi, many thanks for your thoughts again.
Thank you so much.
Now, an Austrian girl who was kidnapped more than 8 years ago